My heart is racing. The clock is ticking. I've got a little sweat on my forehead. Why the drama? Because I'm getting ready. I've been tasked with talking for about 8 minutes about my wife, right? And it's on tape. So this is just a short story about my effort at being a present parent and a present husband, while also trying to build a business that required a lot of travel, a lot of responsibilities, and a lot of time away. But you guys all know all that. So let me set the stage. When I met my future wife, Vicki, I was a college baseball coach at Georgia Tech. We were winning conference championships and chasing national championships. And our head coach, a Hall of Famer, his philosophy was the only way we were going to beat Georgia, beat on them, stomp on them, beat Clemson, beat Florida State, and continue to beat them, was to outwork them. There were no baseball gurus. We had to outwork them. We worked 7 days a week. If my wife wanted to see me, she came to the ballpark for dinner. She went to away series on the weekends. And during the off season, I was traveling around the country, scouting and recruiting players, or I was running camp. There was no off season. So after about 3 years of that, we decided to make a change. I'd been recruited to come work in the family business, start up a new area. We moved back to Orlando, and we thought that we would begin what would be more of a normal life. And within about a year, Vicki declared, "I thought it was the job, but it's you. You're the problem." And it was kind of funny, and it was kind of true, but it didn't really matter until we started having kids, 4 of them. And after our second child was born, Vicki quit her paying job to focus on her unpaid job, and she established this habit. Let me back up. This is the first of one of the things that I did to try and govern the way I acted, the way I behaved, to try and be a good parent and a good husband in an environment that didn't really have any routine. So rather than being forced to make these decisions ad hoc every day when I was confronted with wanting to be at 2 places at the same time, we had these habits or this process that made it a little easier, relieve the stress. And the first one was when Vicki started calling me every day about 5:30 and asked very nicely, "Hey, honey, when are you going to come home?" And she asked very nicely, but it created a lot of pressure, right? And therefore, it created tension between us. And so we agreed that I would call her if I wasn't going to be home by 7. That simple little tactic, it worked. It relieved the pressure. But then over time, our business was growing, and it was growing geographically, and the travel started to become unreasonable. So I made a genuine commitment to minimize my nights away from home. That meant a lot of really early departures and a lot of very late returns home. But it did allow me to wake up in the morning with the kids, and I really enjoyed that. I wanted that. But frankly, I also got credit with my wife that I was making that difference. And over time, the kids recognized that too. And I would take the kids to school. Taking them to school took a little bit of the pressure off of Vicki, and it gave me some really good dad time with my kids. Even during those no-talk teenager years, in those early mornings, it was still worthwhile. And Saturday night is date night. Vicki insisted, and she was right. It worked. Without exception, we went on a date on Saturday night, and it kept us close. It helped us build a relationship that was independent of what we were doing together raising our children. And our kids' sports were really, really important to us as a family, and all 4 of my kids were very active. So it became a priority for me to be on the sidelines, to be at the games, to take them to the games when I could, drive them to practice, drive them home. Frankly, that became really most of what I would call the quality time that I had with my kids, with each of them. You know, it felt like we had fallen into a really good routine. It was working for us. It was working. We had this backdrop of routine, an environment where there really wasn't routine. The business required all kinds of things that were not traditional in terms of time. And it was working until I had a friend and a neighbor who passed unexpectedly from cancer. And we went to his funeral. And he had 3 children who were my contemporaries. And each of them spoke, and they all talked about the same thing. They talked about the hanging out times with Dad, the practical jokes, the conversations, and the fun they had just recreating. And it hit me over the head like a brick. When are you just hanging out with your kids? When are you just being together? Everything that you do with your kids seems to revolve around their performance, whether it's the athletics or even sitting at the dinner table at night recounting what was going on at school. So my solution to that was a little bit obnoxious. I bought a beach condo. Now, we bought it with my brother's family, and it was only about an hour away. So one-night stayovers were doable. It was very accessible. And it was awesome. It worked. When we were there, we watched TV. We went swimming. We cooked on the barbecue. We just talked a lot. It really worked. It was awesome. When we're at the beach, my wife says that I am a different person. Go figure. So when I reflect on that time, there's really 2 takeaways. One is, and it's really a failure, talk with your family about your business. It's a big part of your life. It's really important to you. Put them together. Put work and family together. Don't separate them and try and balance them. It's really about harmony. It's not about balance. This is something that Tugboat helped me with. Even if it was a little late, it really helped, and it continues today. And the other thing, it's a little about guilt and a wonderful gift. Even though I was very conscientious and I had a plan, as I've sort of described to you, things that we did, I always felt a little bit guilty that I could have, should have spent more time with my kids. And then one night, Vicki and I were having dinner with another couple, some really good friends, and my friend Xander said he was lamenting about things that he had missed with his kids because he'd been working so much lately. And my wife leaned over and looked at him and said, "Xander, you're doing the right thing. Missing some of your kids' activities is okay. You're setting a great example for them by working hard, and it's good for them to know that the world doesn't always revolve around them." What a gift that was for me to hear that from her. Thank you.